I want to hit on some pretty big news that was dropped in the last 12 hours or so. I want to touch on this expansion of the Robotaxi network in Austin and also in Silicon Valley that was just announced last night. I want to talk about the integration of Grok with Tesla's, and I also want to talk about Grok 4, which is X's, or formerly Twitter's, XAI's now, LLM, which is the ChatGPT competitor basically, and some of the benchmarks and things that they've shown, which is a pretty big deal. So when the news broke yesterday that Tesla was going to expand its network, I quickly put a video out just to let y'all know that was happening. I had a chance to sort of sleep on it and think about it a little bit more. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that this is going faster than even the most optimistic people, or some of the most optimistic people out there were thinking this was going to happen, including myself, including other people that were on our podcast as well. I want to play you this clip real quick from the podcast that we had last week with Gally, Chris, and Sawyer, as well as Hans, my co-host, and just take a listen to what we thought the timeframes were and what actually ended up happening. Now, this was a podcast that was recorded no more than a week ago, so keep that in mind.
When's the announcement gonna hit of like geofence expansion? I think it'll be in a couple weeks.
I was gonna say end of July.
I'm gonna go August. I'm gonna wait till August.
Breaking news: Sawyer bearish on Robotaxi.
Yeah. What do you guys
Elon,
think?
unfollow Sawyer for being bearish.
No, blocks.
Yeah.
Blocks. Yeah.
And I think end of July would be. I go back and forth on this a lot because part of me is like, yeah, they did this small thing and it's going to take a while before they can start expanding. But you know, it's going to be. Is it going to be this or is it going to be this? You know what I mean? I'm hoping by the end of July we see some type of expansion, even if it's a small one. Whether that's more robotaxis or more geofence or whatever. But at the same time, I could see it being a couple of months before we really hear much of an update about Robotaxi. And short term, you know, a lot of people will pick on that, and long term, it will mean nothing.
I have a conspiracy theory that we're not going to get the shareholder meeting date announcement until they have decided that they are ready to open up the geofence, and that there's going to be overlap between shareholders actually getting to experience the Robotaxi network and the shareholder meeting.
So take Robotaxi from your hotel to the meeting,
or some designated like pickup point or something.
And so as you can see, Gally was the closest one, but he was still, you know, just 1 week late. But the rest of us were kind of thinking late July, maybe August, who knows, maybe even later, depending on how safe and how measured Tesla wanted to be. But it's become obvious that Tesla is going to go as fast as they humanly can. And this is very different from, let's say, Waymo or Zoox, because the amount of safety that those companies have to collect, the safety data that they have to collect, it's going to be very different to the amount of safety data Tesla's going to have to collect. And the reason why is that Tesla has spent the last 6 years, 7 years, collecting a lot of those miles from the road to confirm that full self-driving was going to work, that a Robotaxi was going to work. The key difference is that Tesla used the customers and their fleet that they sold to the customers to test this hypothesis. And that was, you know, a big sticking point for a lot of people for a really long time. It's like, hey, why are you having, you know, customers quote unquote beta test your software? I don't view it that way. The software actually had legitimate use cases. A lot of people love using FSD, the ones that have it. It legitimately takes a lot of load off of you when you drive, autopilot, et cetera, But the key advantage there is that Tesla has used millions of cars and billions of miles of self-driving miles where the car drove itself and the customer ensured that the car was driving itself. That was a lot of safety validation that companies like Waymo, Zoox, etc. have to do on their own without any customers. And so what that means for those companies literally is that when they go into a region, they are starting their safety training from that point. Whereas Tesla has been doing safety training for years. And there's a reason why the Robotaxi experience, if you look at it objectively, no fanboyism, no like, oh my God, look at this, Tesla is the best. If you just look at it objectively, experience a Tesla versus a Waymo, they're both great products. They're both better than your average Uber driver. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you're viewing this sort of long-term as far as the jobs disruption thing goes. The Tesla is objectively better. It's smoother, it's smarter, it makes better decisions, it has a better app experience, it's consistent. Especially here in Austin, you don't have to rely on the Uber network to hail a Waymo. You just hail a Robotaxi, and in the Uber app, you have to hope that you get a Waymo, even after setting some specific settings in the background to try and bias towards a Waymo. And you can see this in the videos that I've captured, and I've tried to be objective. I reviewed the Robotaxi. I took 20 some odd rides on the Robotaxi network. And then you can look at my experience with Waymo with Joe Tegmeyer. We took 4 rides, but it was a good enough sample size to see just in those 4 rides, we ran into more uncomfortable situations, and we saw more uncomfortable situations with those 4 rides than we did with the Tesla. So right now it's not a huge deal because, there wasn't any cars coming, but now you can see the situation, right?
Yeah.
Where we have traffic, it's blocking the traffic. It's just standing here, and then people have to go around it. This is just really bad behavior, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't like that, and it's also taking a long time to get moving.
Yeah, it's taking a long time to get moving. It's holding up traffic.
And there it goes.
See, it's just, man, that is a huge bummer. So just using that data set proves that even though Waymo is a phenomenal product and it's better than your average Uber driver, Tesla's is significantly better. But this is because of the amount of time they spent doing this validation and safety. This is very hard to convey, and a lot of people, I don't think, will really understand this until they have hands-on experience and they go out to these cities like Austin or Phoenix or California, places in California, and they have a hands-on experience with this product. Now, on the flip side, companies like Waymo are starting to expand their service as well. They're going to places like New York. I believe they're doing an expansion in Florida. They're definitely doing one in Atlanta as well. So this company is expanding, but Waymo has been around for a long time as a self-driving robotaxi service. Tesla has been around for 3 weeks and they're already expanding. They started from a very small place, but the expansion signals that the company has more than enough data to be comfortable in expanding that network. And with Silicon Valley coming here in a month or 2, let's add a must factor and say by the end of the year, which is starting to become an odd thing to talk about because it seems like Tesla is a little bit ahead of schedule versus their biggest supporters timelines, which is a very weird thing, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. That expansion will be significantly faster than any other competitor. But again, it's because of the formula that Tesla has created. Millions of cars per year, using artificial intelligence, having collected billions of miles over the last 7-8 years, is giving them this advantage now. They were late to the game, quote unquote, to actually get the Robotaxi service going. But now that it's alive, now that it's gone from 0 to 1, now that it has gone from not existing to existing, the trajectory Tesla's gonna have in expanding this network should be exponentially faster than anyone else by far. And that's because they have the scale, they have the cars to actually do that. But in addition to that, they also have the intelligence. Their AI system allows them to do this, whereas Waymo and Zoox are much more reliant on heuristics, human code, not artificial intelligence. And speaking of artificial intelligence, with Elon Musk now confirming that Grok is going to come to the Tesla vehicles, what a segue, usually very bad at those, we're now going to get to a point where owning a Tesla, this guy just cut the entire highway, you guys, just went from the leftmost lane to the exit lane, cut across 4 lanes and barely made the exit. FSD is the best, you guys, for this reason. Now you're getting to a point where a Tesla vehicle is going to be end-to-end a fully AI product. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate this. AI products are extremely rare in this day and age, meaning that the product from the ground up is only able to exist because of artificial intelligence in the way that it performs. I would argue Tesla vehicles are AI products because their ability to self-drive basically anywhere, like the Cybertruck is doing right now, driving itself on the highway, I still have to pay attention, but I don't have to touch the steering wheel, pedal, or nothing. It's just doing its thing. That's only real because of artificial intelligence. And then you're going to add an additional layer with Grok, which is going to become your personal assistant / therapist in your vehicle while you're in traffic, and it's going to be fully integrated in the experience. And so you're going to have a car driving itself using artificial intelligence with an entertainment factor or some sort of informative factor, or getting caught up on news or throwing around ideas or researching or whatever. That's also going to be native to the product. And so what all of this points to over time, and this is something, that so many people go back and forth, Tesla's a car company, Tesla's not a car company. I think this is yet another, nail in the coffin of Tesla just being a car company. They're way too diverse in their approach of technology. They have too many different things that they're cooking and they're working on that are not really related to making cars. FSD using artificial intelligence is fundamentally not a automaker thing. No other car company does this. And so Tesla is very firmly positioning itself as an AI company. They're not a car company. They're not a transportation company. They are AI company. And the AI company is creating all the different products and variations that could exist with products that are powered by artificial intelligence. Self-driving vehicles, humanoid robots, drones one day, I'm sure. Energy products, thinking about, how to balance the loads and when to store energy, when not to store energy, where can you take advantage of arbitrage? Maybe you can, trade futures in energy using, I don't even know. I'm just kind of going down crazy rabbit holes now. But you can see sort of how this product has transformed over time. And I think, not financial or investment advice, I think the stock market has sniffed this out. They've sort of figured this out. And we can see this, if you look at Tesla's performance relative to the stock market, it's been poor for the last few sort of months and honestly years, one could argue, because the stock's kind of flatlined, right? It's not really going anywhere, hasn't gone really anywhere in a minute. But Tesla has suffered from some pretty significant poor news, in addition to Elon Musk getting involved in politics, in addition to having poor results in their quarterly earnings report. Elon getting on the bad side of Trump, Elon getting on the bad side of Democrats, right? There was a clip from Amit's podcast with Tom Lee, and this clip really highlights why Tesla is wanted as much as it's wanted. Take a listen.
So a lot of the institutional guys will say, well, Tesla's at $1 trillion, PE of 200. That person that can tell you all the ins and outs of FSD doesn't understand valuation. But your argument here is, well, that person probably owns a Tesla. They have experience with FSD. They can be a little bit creative in terms of their imagination on where the company can go. And valuation might not matter as much. Is that the argument from the valuation side that says a 200 PE is crazy versus the cult member who says, I am in this car every day. You don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, let me put it this way. It's a very cogent question you're asking. But the real second question to that is, how many people fundamentally need the PE to be the basis for an investment? It's a shrinking universe, okay? Let me put it this way. Do you own a luxury watch?
I don't.
Okay. So let's say someone has or do you have any art or something, like a collectible?
Probably not, no.
Okay. Because remember, Tesla is scarce.
I have
right?
a Tesla, though.
Yeah. But see, okay, I mean, Tesla is scarce as art. Because name another company like Tesla. There's electric car companies and robots, but in the world today, go around the world, ask 8 billion people, is there another company like Tesla? We'll say, nope, there's only one Tesla.
There's one Tesla.
Okay, so that's a Da Vinci.
Wow.
Right? Think about that. It's like there's just one Tesla. And so then you say, pretend this is a Da Vinci, and someone will say, I'm only going to value this based on the value of the wood and the string and the paper. And so the PE of this is actually 12 cents. But then 100 people say, no, there's only one painting like this.
Right.
And I'm going to pay $100 million. That's the Tesla thing. Some people will say, oh, Tesla's a car company, but that's a small cohort. Everyone else says Tesla's a Da Vinci, right? There's no other company like Tesla in the world. So shouldn't that scarcity be worth a premium?
I have never thought of it like that, quite frankly. I mean, that is the first time I've even heard that as a comparison, but it makes a lot of sense because we know Elon's brand is superseding a lot of the brands. I mean, I don't even know who the CEO of Procter & Gamble is.
Correct. I mean, yeah, who's the CEO of the biggest company that's not a tech?
Right.
We can't even name them. And another thing you could say is that proves Tesla has a fixed supply.
Correct.
Of one. And when it's gone, there's no other Tesla. But they have superior manufacturing. Making a car is one of the hardest things in the world to do, and making electric, and they do it profitably.
Right.
And then look at Elon says, let's do something in space. And then he's 90% of the space business. And then he says, let's do some AI. And then Grok is valued at $130 billion. I mean, kind of he knows how to create businesses, and but there's only one Tesla in the world, like Tesla company.
Right.
People might say it's a commodity, but I mean,
it's an argument that's hard to justify from that perspective outside of just using valuation.
And so now you're at the point where Tesla has this like crazy AI advantage. It's being viewed as a very scarce sort of like thing. And that AI advantage you can also see in companies like XAI and Grok, sort of the thing that they just unveiled yesterday. We saw that at least the benchmarks from the company are very, very strong. Elon claims it's the smartest AI out there, has this like blowout friggin' benchmarks for artificial intelligence performance. And so that exact capability, that AI supremacy is present in Tesla as well. And to think that that sort of approach to the company and that sort of approach to reinventing what Tesla is, to think that Elon's going to have something like Grok 4 or XAI and have all that training compute, and then Tesla has the same thing, and then we're sitting there thinking, you know, there's no way those two companies are not going to benefit from each other. Of course they are. And that leads to the scarcity of Tesla, in my opinion. And so I'm going to study this Grok 4 thing a little bit more. I need to get my head wrapped around a bunch of stuff. The benchmarks are promising, but it's probably going to be too early to tell how good it really is. But we have a supercut of that presentation in the channel. I'll put a link for that in the description below. And there's a lot more to come, you guys. So on Monday, I'm going to go down to Austin. I want to test a new geofence area. We're going to see what the hell is going to happen down there. I'm very excited to try a bunch of different areas out there. And I hope to get those videos up Monday evening at the latest, perhaps Tuesday morning. So we'll see. All right, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next one.